Every fall, millions of Americans spend entire weekends bagging up nature's free fertilizer and hauling it to the curb. And we genuinely think we're doing the right thing. We're being good neighbors. We're keeping things tidy. We're taking care of our property. What we're actually doing is we're undoing one of the most efficient natural systems on the planet and then paying to replace it. I want to be clear up front, this isn't a video about being lazy. It's not permission to let your yard go. This is about stopping and actually questioning something we all do automatically every single fall without ever asking why. Because when you look at what leaves actually do, what we do with them instead, and what that costs us financially, environmentally, and in terms of the health of our soil, the whole tradition of raking falls apart pretty fast. And like a lot of things that fall apart when you look at them closely, there's a reason it became the standard. Someone benefited from it, and it wasn't you. Let's go through all of it. Leaves fall for a reason. That's not a poetic statement, it's a biological fact. Deciduous trees drop their leaves as part of a cycle that is specifically designed to return nutrients to the soil the tree is growing in. It's the tree feeding itself and feeding everything around it. When leaves decompose on the ground, they release nitrogen, carbon, potassium, phosphorus, and a range of micronutrients directly back into the soil. These are the exact same things listed on the back of every bag of commercial fertilizer at the garden center. The tree made them, dropped them, and the soil was going to absorb them. Now that's just the chemical side. Physically, a layer of leaves on soil acts as insulation. It keeps the ground temperature more stable through freeze and thaw cycles, which protects root systems, including your lawn grass, from the kind of stress that causes winter damage. It retains moisture. It prevents the kind of soil compaction that happens when the bare ground gets pounded by rain all winter. And then there's the biology. Leaves create habitat. Ground nesting birds use them. Fireflies lay their eggs in them. Luna moths, sphinx moths, and dozens of other species overwinter as pupa in leaf litter. Toads and salamanders shelter in them. And beneath all of that, the decomposing leaves feed earthworms. This is the part I really want you to understand. Earthworms are not just something you find when you dig in the garden. They are one of the primary engines of healthy soil. They aerate the soil as they move through it, improving drainage and root penetration. They break down organic matter and convert it into castings, worm castings, which are pound for pound one of the most nutrient-dense natural fertilizers that exist. Healthy earthworm populations are a direct indicator of healthy soil. And healthy soil grows healthy plants, without inputs, without amendments, and without you buying anything. It is a closed loop system. The tree drops the leaves feed the soil organisms improve the soil grows healthier plants, including the tree drops the leaves again. It has been running this way for hundreds of millions of years. Forests don't have groundskeepers. They don't have leaf blowers or lawn services or bags of fertilizer. And yet somehow they manage to grow some of the most complex, productive, biodiverse ecosystems on Earth with leaves. The same leaves we are bagging. So here's what we do with this free automatic closed loop system. We rake the leaves into piles. We stuff them into plastic bags that will take hundreds of years to break down. We haul those bags to the curb. A truck comes, burns fuel, and takes them to a municipal facility. Now, at the better facilities, they get composted, which means they do eventually return to soil, just somewhere else, stripped of the geographic relationship they had with your specific trees and your specific yard. At the worst, At the worst facilities, they end up in a landfill. And here's what happens to organic material in a landfill. Without access to oxygen, it doesn't decompose the way it would in the open air. Instead, it breaks down anaerobically and produces methane. Methane is a greenhouse gas that is roughly 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide over a 20-year period. We are taking leaves, which in open air would quietly and beneficially break down into soil, and converting them into a meaningful source of greenhouse gas emissions because we bagged them. And then, and I want to make sure this lands, we go to the garden center and buy fertilizer in a plastic bag to replace the nutrients we just removed. We remove the nutrients, then we buy nutrients. We are paying twice, once to remove something beneficial, once to replace it. And the replacement comes in plastic packaging and was manufactured using energy and resources. The original was free and came with zero packaging and zero manufacturing cost because a tree made it. This is where we are. Now I want to talk about leaf blowers specifically because this adds another layer to the whole picture that most people don't know about. We didn't just decide to remove the leaves. We decided to do it as noisingly and pollutingly as possible. A commercial gas-powered leaf blower running for 1 hour can emit more smog-forming pollution than driving a modern pickup truck for over 1,000 miles. And that's not an exaggeration or an approximation. That comes from emissions testing conducted by the California Air Resources Board and has been referenced by the EPA. The two-stroke engines in gas leaf blowers burn fuel inefficiently and release a significant amount of unburned hydrocarbons directly into the air. Across the United States, small gasoline engines, lawnmowers, leaf blowers, chainsaws, trimmers, collectively contribute a substantial portion of total smog-forming emissions, particularly in summer and fall when they're most heavily used. Electric leaf blowers are better on direct emissions, but they still create the noise. And the noise is its own documented problem. Chronic exposure to leaf blower noise levels has been associated with hearing damage for operators, and the disruption to residential neighborhoods is well documented. Multiple cities have banned or restricted gas leaf blowers specifically because of the noise and air quality impacts. So we are running equipment that pollutes the air, meaningfully measurably pollutes the air, to remove something that was actively improving the soil. Every fall, like clockwork, because it's what we do. So why do we do this? Why did raking and bagging become the universal fall standard? Part of it connects to the broader story of how the American lawn became a cultural institution. The idea that a perfectly maintained, uniformed green space in front of your home is a sign of responsibility and respectability. And I've talked about that in other videos. The lawn as a concept was imported from European aristocracy, industrialized by developers, and sold to the American middle class as the dream. Anything that disrupted the uniformity of that lawn, weeds, bare patches, and yes, fallen leaves, became a problem to be solved. But there's also a more direct commercial angle: the lawn care industry. Equipment manufacturers, fertilizer companies, lawn services benefit directly from the cycle of removal and replacement. Leaf blowers are a multi-billion-dollar product category. Bags are a consumable you buy every year. Fertilizer is a product you buy to replace what you removed. Lawn services charge by the visit. None of those revenue streams exist if you leave the leaves on the ground. The same way that dandelions had to become the enemy so that herbicide could become necessary, leaves had to become a problem so that the solution could be sold. And it worked, because here we are. Let me give you the practical alternatives, because I don't want this to just be a big rant. I want it to be actually useful. So option 1, mulch mow. And this is the easiest and most effective thing most people can do. Run your mower over the leaves. The mower shreds them into smaller pieces that fall down into the grass and decompose within a few weeks, feeding the lawn as they go. You do not need a special mulching mower. Most standard mowers do this fine with the discharge chute closed. Research from Michigan State University found that mulching leaves this way actually improves lawn density and reduces weed pressure over time compared to removing them. It takes no more time than mowing normally. There are no bags. There's no truck. There's no cost beyond what you were already spending to mow. Option 2, compost pile. Rake them if you want, but rake them into a pile in the corner of your yard, not into bags. A pile of leaves left alone will become finished, dark compost by mid to late spring. You can speed the process by adding a nitrogen source, such as grass clippings, coffee grounds, kitchen scraps, and turning the pile occasionally. What you end up with is free amendment for your garden beds that is better than most things you can buy in a bag. Option 3, leave them in beds. In your garden beds and around the base of trees and shrubs. Leave the leaves entirely through winter. They will insulate the roots, retain moisture, and provide exactly the kind of habitat that beneficial insects in your yard need to overwinter. Pull them back gently in spring as things start to grow and let them finish breaking down in place. Option 4, leave them on the lawn. This is the most counterintuitive one, but it works if your leaf layer isn't so thick that it's blocking out all light. A moderate layer of leaves on a lawn through winter does not kill the grass. In many cases, it protects it. By spring, what remains has mostly broken down and the lawn comes in healthier. This requires a mindset shift more than anything else. The through line in all of these is the same. Keep the nutrients in your yard, where they came from and where they belong. I want to spend a few minutes on this because it doesn't get talked about enough. When we remove leaf litter from our yards, we are removing habitat. Not in an abstract, somewhere far away sense, directly from your own property. Fireflies, which most of us have some nostalgia for, spend the majority of their life cycle as larvae in the ground. They need leaf litter to survive the winter. Firefly populations have been declining significantly across North America. Habitat loss and light pollution are the primary drivers. Raking and removing leaves from suburban yards is a direct contributor, I can't say that word, to their habitat loss. Over 90% of native moth and butterfly species require leaf litter at some stage of their life cycle. These are the insects that pollinate your garden, that feed the birds, that form the base of the food web and your local ecosystem. When you bag the leaves, you are removing the infrastructure that supports all of that. Native bees, not just honeybees, but the 4,000 species of native bees in North America, including many ground nesting species that overwinter in leaf litter. These are some of the most effective pollinators of native plants and food crops. They need exactly what we're removing. The birds that eat these insects need them too. The decline in insect populations is directly connected to the decline in bird populations. It's all one system. And our annual fall ritual of removing leaf litter is one of the things disrupting it at the neighborhood level, yard by yard across the country. Leaving your leaves, or even leaving them in one section of your yard, is one of the highest impact things an individual homeowner can do for local biodiversity. higher impact than most things people think of as environmentally conscious choices. Here's what I want you to take from this. Raking and bagging your leaves is not neutral. It is not just a chore with no consequences. It removes nutrients your soil needs, disrupts a natural system that runs itself for free, contributes to emissions through transport and decomposition in landfills, funds an industry that sells you products to replace what you removed, and eliminates habitat for the insects and birds that your local ecosystem depends on. And we do it because it looks tidy, because it's what fall looks like in the neighborhood, because it's what everyone does, because it's what we were shown growing up and nobody ever explained what was actually happening. That's how a lot of things become normal that probably shouldn't be. The good news is this one is genuinely easy to change. Easier than almost anything else I've talked about. You don't have to fight a corporation or a landlord or an HOA. Though if your HOA requires leaf removal, that is its own conversation. You just have to stop doing something. Leave the leaves. Mulch them, compost them, keep them in your yard. Let the system do what it was already doing before we decided it was a problem. I'm Lil, and this is Lil Unfiltered. If this made you think differently about something you do every fall, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And drop in the comments what you're doing with your leaves this year, because I genuinely want to know.